And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel, and today we're taking a look at fine sand, like the coarse sand that runs through your fingers. This is a game in which you are constructing sand castles. Forget it. The theme doesn't matter. It's a Fable game. Now, Fable games are something that's been started by Friedman Freeze, Stronghold Games and 2F Games, where you have a game that will change from game to game. Maybe you add more cards, maybe something has changed to a degree in the game. This is a deck shedding game. You start with a deck and you're trying to get that deck to go down to nothing. Well, that's a unique idea. Let's take a look. So what you have to understand how this game works is in Fine Sand, there's a deck of cards. Now this deck is in a very specific order the first time you play. It doesn't really matter. You can shuffle it and have that deck. What makes this game a Fable game is that as time goes by, there's extra cards, and you'll be adding 3 of those cards into your deck for future games, and those cards will change up things a little bit. So again, that's really the Fableness of it. Let's talk about the game itself. So you have a deck of cards, and what you're trying to do to win the game is to have all those cards both out of your discard pile and your draw pile and into your hand. So if I ever draw cards into my hand and I have no cards in my discard or draw pile, then the game will end. If I need to draw more cards than I have, I'll take these gold coins. It's the only time they're used. And then whoever has the most of those wins. Or if I'm the only person to draw cards into my hand, then I'll win after that final round. Each round of the game is played simultaneous by everybody. What you'll do is you'll put this disc out to show that you're ready to start the round, and you're going to go through these actions here. Now, players will have a starting hand of cards, so they'll skip the green action in the first turn, but normally you will draw the number of cards shown here, which at the beginning of the game is 2. That's the first action that you will do, draw 2 cards in your hand. You then can build 1 building, or draw 2 more cards. So you take your red actions or your blue actions. You'll just move this disc over to show which one of these you'll do. So maybe I want to draw more cards, I'll go here. Maybe I want to build buildings, I'll move there. And then you have to discard cards down to your limit, which right now is 3. Now when you build a card from your hand, the card has a building cost. So this card here costs 7. This one here, for example, costs 4 to build. If I want to build this one, I simply discard cards. Each card's worth a coin, although there are some cards like this one which are worth 2 cards. This card, 2 coins. This can't be built. So maybe I want to keep this card here. So I'm going to build this card here, and it's going to cost me 5. So I'll discard this for 2, 3, 4, 5. Keeping this card in my hand. I discard all these cards here, and now my hand limit is 4 instead of 3 at the end of a round. So you can see that green cards are going to let you draw more cards at the beginning of a turn. Blue cards let you draw more cards if you take the blue action. Red cards will let you build more cards. You also have a yellow action that you can use. You can use each yellow action once per turn. What this yellow action in this one specifically lets you do is it lets you discard a card from your hand over onto this pile here. At the end of a round, after everyone is done playing, and you know everyone's done playing because you take your disc back and put it on your draw pile to show that you're done. When everyone's done playing, if every one of these piles has a card on it, then that card is taken and given to your neighbor and put in their discard pile. Or the top card, there might be more than one card there. So if you have a hard time getting rid of cards from your deck, maybe you just throw this card out. I don't want to build it. You also have cards that are in your deck that are sand castles. You have to build these to kind of get rid of them, but they don't do anything for you. You just put them at the top here. So as you look through the deck, you can see there's various cards that have different costs. Sand castles, this lets you build for -1 cost. There's cards that increase the size of your hand, and it's all very basic. Once you start adding in these more Fable cards, you will be able to build maybe for more of a discount, drawing cards. There's going to be all sorts of weird cards that will be added to your hand and allow you to do various things, but you're only going to have a few of them added at a time. And that's how you play. So these coins are nice. It's weird that they're only used at the very, very end of the game. This tile here works well. And this will be the biggest problem for OCD players that I've ever seen, where you have this ring and this disc, and guess what? They don't fit in each other. It feels like they should, but they don't. That's not a big deal. The cards themselves, they're good quality cards. There's no question on that. Every single person, it seems, it's hard to, if you can take a look here, every single construction person in these cards looks like they hate their job. It's okay artwork. It's not very good artwork in my opinion. It's okay. The biggest problem I have with this game is that you have these starting decks, but it doesn't, if you want to put the starting deck back together, the rule book here shows you the order, but this is a real pain. Why not just put numbers on the cards so you could easily just put them in order and not have to look at this and follow this exactly? And if you want to put the Fable cards back in order, you have to go and look at this. Again, numbers on the cards would have really helped that out some. There's also a solo campaign included with some scoring things here if you want to play with that. Wow, this is a unfortunate game, I think. First of all, the Fable thing, it's not that big of a deal. Yeah, you add a few new cards, big deal. The deck being pre-built in a specific order, also not a big deal. You could argue that if you get some cards in the beginning of the game, it creates an unfair advantage, but whatever, since you're supposed to play the second game and after with that mixed deck, I don't know. I just, the whole Fable aspect, I'm not opposed to the Fable idea. I just think in this game, it doesn't matter one bit. The game itself, at first I was kind of fascinated by it. I was like, oh wow, the first time I played, I was like, this is kind of an interesting game. Because essentially what I'm doing is I'm trying to get rid of my cards. So I could put a card here, give it to my neighbor. What cards am I going to build? Am I going to build these cards that let me increase my hand size? Am I going to build these cards that let me build more buildings at a discount? Or, you know, which cards am I going to build? And that's going to bring forth my strategy. Sounds all well and good. Then I played my second game. And I played exactly the same way I played the first game. See, here's the thing. Green cards, the ones that let you draw cards in the beginning, vastly superior to everything else. Those blue cards that let you draw cards halfway through your turn, they're no good, really, because you have to discard down to a certain number at the end. They're okay. They're the last thing you want to build. You want to build green cards. If you get the card that gives you a discount for building, you definitely want to build that. And you want to then build cards that let you keep your increase of hand size. But if I can draw like 6 cards at the beginning of my turn, I can build one of those. And then I don't care what my hand size is. So it's green, purple, red, or purple and red are kind of the same, and then blue. And then you might want to build some sand castles, but you just build those because you have nothing else to build. You're just getting them out of your hand. I realize, I know there's going to be people, there's strategies to this game, but not enough differential. Even when you add in the Fable cards, and you want to add those in as soon as possible because the base game of this is fairly boring. Even when you start adding those in, it's just not that exciting. Yeah, there's those yellow cards, and each yellow card you can use once per turn. And once you get more yellow cards, you have some more options. But it's just that when the game's over, it's like, oh, that's interesting. That's different. That's unique. But I never felt like, I don't sit around going, what should I do next time? I just got some cards that says, oh, this is the one I can afford to build. I guess I'll build it. I can't afford to build this one. I'll try to save up for it, but I hope I get enough money to build it. Now, you know what? I'm just going to throw it over to Bob. And so I like the idea, again, of Find Sand. I like new themes and all, but the theme does seem odd. It doesn't really congeal with the game. So this is kind of like cool. Friedman Freeze does this a lot, right? He does these experimental type games, and they're fascinating. And sometimes they work, and sometimes they don't. I don't think this one failed by any means. I just don't think it's gripping enough that I want to come back and play it more. Dice Tower Judgment, too samey from game to game.